You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, we're going to talk a little bit about the Bears this morning. Caleb Williams has come out and made some comments about Matt Eberflus getting Eberflus down the toilet after a brutal performance by him and the team. I'm talking about Eberflus in that Thanksgiving Day that everybody in the world, that game on Thanksgiving Day that everybody watched. Caleb Williams looked really good in the second half of that game. And at times he's looked really good this year. At other times he's looked like a complete bust. Now, I will tell you this. I watched a little press conference from this guy. This is Thomas Brown. This is going to be the interim coach, all right? And I will say this, and I'm not going to play this whole thing, but I'm going to play a little bit of it. A lot of people are bringing up Tomlin, a young Mike Tomlin. He does come across that way. I kid you not. This guy does come across as what could be a good leader of men, all right? Whether it's now or in the future. The only problem is I get nervous about these interim guys because if Eberflus or these other coaches that have lost locker rooms and get fired during the season, you always notice those teams sometimes experience a bump right away. The Niners did it years ago when they brought in Singletary. They got all fired up, including the fan base. We wanted Singletary. He was a disaster. You know? The Raiders fans wanted Antonio Pierce. He's a disaster. They come in, they got aggressive attitudes, blah, blah, blah. There is something that feels different about this guy versus, I didn't like Steve Wilkes either. I understood why Tipper didn't hire him, even though the fan base wanted him. They got a little bump. Now, I think they're going to find out eventually, if they give him enough time, Dave Canales may figure it out in Carolina. But that team's 3 years away from being really competitive. They just got a lack of talent. This guy, I like him. And we're going to look at some comments. Caleb Williams made some comments about Eberflus getting flushed. And they're pretty interesting. Also, by the way, we're going to touch on Lincoln Riley. Yeah, I said that. Lincoln Riley and the Bears.
Hit the reset button, get back on the huddle, go do it again, and over again. Post-snap penalties. It's a lack of attention to detail when it comes to techniques. So we're going to do a better job as coaches to coach it the right way, demand it is done the right way, drill it properly, and our guys go execute when it's time to go execute. And I just talked about as far as our identity as a football team. I say this initially, always believe in and stand by it. Football is a violent game. It rewards those that play the game violently. So physical at every position is going to be our mentality. And I started this week against San Fran to kind of prize themselves and built a great job throughout the years of building a roster that kind of fits that mold, of being aggressive in all phases, of kind of a attacking mentality. So it starts there for us. That's a non-negotiable. I also talked about majoring in 3 abilities. That's coachability, that's accountability, that's dependability. That's all of us, myself included. Not above coaching, not above accountability. We'll get that done together. And then lastly, it's about being resilient. All right, no matter what happens, nobody cares what's happened before, what happened in the future. Overcome it. Fight through it. So it's not about the event, it's about the response. So response.
All right, so we'll stop it right there, but I love that. Nobody cares. Hey, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Nobody's going to feel sorry for him. There's something there with that guy. Whether or not it's going to be with the Bears or not, I don't know. One could say you want to go with an offensive guy there. It should have been Jim Harbaugh, but that ship has sailed. Caleb Williams transferred from Oklahoma to USC following Lincoln Riley after his freshman college season, so he knows all about change. Still, it wasn't easy to see OC and play caller Shane Waldron fired. And then Matt Eberflus, quote, the human aspect of it weighs on you a little bit, especially this being my first year and this being my first head coach that drafted me, Williams said Wednesday via Scott Bair of the MarqueeSportsNetwork.com. So there's a human part of it. And then the business side is to kick in and say, I understand it. I don't really have control of it, but I have to roll with the punches and understand and move on, try to help this team win the best way that I can. Williams has adapted a keep going mantra and is choosing to look at the changes as learning opportunities since it's something he can control. I think this is a stepping stone of development to be able to have all of this in my first year, Williams said. I wouldn't say that I'm happy for it. Having these moments is definitely something that will help me in the future. Having these situational moments, it's hard to rep in practice. Having some of these moments, having your coach fired or coaches fired, and people being promoted, things like that all happening within a couple of weeks of each other. I think it would help me in the long run being able to handle all this, being able to handle this first year, being able to grow from it. Down the line, I'll have different OCs or different head coaches or whatever the case may be. And so being able to handle it my first year, handle a new playbook, handle all these different changes, handle all that, I think it definitely will help the development instead of hurting or anything like that. He's 4-8, 2,600 yards, 14 TDs, 5 interceptions. And like I said, at times he's looked really good. And I wasn't a fan of this guy coming out. But at times he's looked like a complete bust, too. And like he is completely lost. So that's going to be interesting. Now, how much are they going to cater to him looking for the next head coach? Everybody's saying Ben Johnson. That would be the guy probably. Will he take the job? I don't know. Kliff Kingsbury is getting a lot of play because of how he got Kyler Murray going out of the gate and how Jaden Daniels looks right now. Daniels had a couple of off weeks, but he came back, got back on track last week. The other one is Lincoln Riley. And this reportedly is a big swing the Bears may be trying to take. Now, UCF right there, the college program has inquired about Lincoln Riley. Now, I heard over the weekend, I can't remember who it was exactly, if it was Todd McShay, John Middlecoff, somebody like that I was listening to said that Lincoln Riley wants out of USC. USC wants out of him. That sounds awful. But they would both like some kind of a separation, right? And Lincoln was heavily rumored to the Cowboys before Mike McCarthy. And there's been a thought process that Lincoln would eventually end up in the NFL with his offensive mind and all that, right? And it makes you wonder, will the Bears go there? Now, one thing about it, if they hire Kliff or Lincoln and Caleb does not perform, all right, not become a star, is a star 3 years from now, it'll be on Caleb because they will have put the coaches in place that he's most familiar with to try to allow him to succeed. So that's going to be interesting. I just don't know if that feels like a fit. Look, Chicago needs a big, nasty, ugly, good offensive line. And if their general manager would have done that and worried less about the shiny skill players around him, I think Caleb Williams would look a lot better, and I think Matt Eberflus would still have a job, frankly. But you notice all the teams that are bad right now? The Bengals, the offensive line is not good right now. The Patriots, putrid offensive line. The Bears, bad offensive line. When will these teams figure out if you have a great offensive line, you win games because your quarterback has time to perform and do stuff, and you can run the ball. I mean, it's crazy. Somebody give me a call. I'll GM. It's no problem. I'll do it. Y'all can pay me just I'll do it. I'll do it on the cheap. $750,000 a year. We'll call it even. It's just nuts to me. It really is. You play in Chicago. It's cold as hell. Big, nasty, ugly offensive lines. Protect the quarterback. Look at what Sam Darnold's doing now that he's got a stable offensive line in front of him, an environment, all this kind of thing. He looks like a starting quarterback in the NFL and a good one. Tell me what you think, black and white sports supporters. Lincoln Riley, Kliff Kingsbury. I like Kliff Kingsbury, to be honest. I think there's a world where he could end up as the Patriots head coach in the next couple of years. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.